I am Mike, 33 years old, working as a project manager at a logistics company. My wife, Samantha, Sam, is 35 and a homemaker. We've been married for 6 years. Our life was comfortable, predictable even. But life, as I learned, has a funny way of flipping the table when you least expect it. It all started on a Sunday night. I was supposed to be home Monday afternoon after a week-long work trip to Dallas. I figured I'd surprise Sam by coming home early, thinking maybe we could spend the evening together. Instead, I got the surprise of my life, just not the kind you'd want. I was cruising down I-80, somewhere around exit 12, when my phone buzzed with a text. Normally, I don't check my phone while driving, but something made me glance at the notification. It was from Sam. The message read, "Last week was amazing. Can't wait to do it again next time Mike's out of town. Miss waking up next to you." I swear, my foot nearly went through the floor trying to hit the brakes. I pulled over at a gas station, my hands trembling, and reread the message, hoping, praying, that I'd misunderstood. But no, the text was real, and it was meant for someone else. Someone who wasn't me. She even added, "I'll miss you, babe." Real poetic. It felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I was furious. The kind of fury that makes your vision narrow and your thoughts go dark. I wanted answers, but more than that, I wanted revenge. So, I replied with one simple text. "Get a lawyer." Then I turned off the sound on my phone, threw it on the passenger seat, and continued driving. She tried calling and texting repeatedly, but I didn't give her the satisfaction of a response. Instead, I focused on what I was going to do when I got home. If she thought I was the clueless husband who'd roll over and forgive her, she was in for a rude awakening. I got home around 8:30 p.m. The house was dark except for the living room, where I could hear her voice. She was on the phone, talking in hushed tones. I stood in the entryway, listening. She was saying things like, "I don't know what to do. He's not supposed to know, and we just have to be careful until this blows over." That's when I made my move. I walked into the room, set my bag down, and in my calmest voice said, "Honey, I'm home." The look on her face? Priceless. She froze mid-sentence, the color draining from her cheeks. The phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. "Mike. I didn't expect you back tonight," she stammered, her eyes darting between me and the phone like a cornered animal. "Clearly," I replied, picking up her phone and checking the screen. Of course, the call was still active. "Who's this?" "The lawyer," I asked, putting the phone to my ear. On the other end, I heard a man's voice. He sounded just as panicked as Sam looked. "Hello? Who's this?" I said. The guy hung up. Coward. Sam immediately launched into damage control mode. "Mike, wait, it's not what it looks like. It's a joke. A stupid joke between friends." I raised an eyebrow. "A joke, huh? Well, it's not very funny. In fact, I'd say it's the worst joke I've ever heard." Ignoring her desperate pleas, I walked into the bedroom, grabbed the bed linens, and shoved them into a trash bag. 2 trash bags, actually, because the comforter wouldn't fit with the sheets and blankets. "What are you doing?" she cried, following me around like a lost puppy. "Collecting evidence," I said flatly. "Unless you'd like to admit what really happened." "I told you it's a joke," she insisted, her voice cracking. "Right. A joke. Well, I'm sending these to a lab, just in case your little joke left any DNA behind." Her face went pale. "Gotcha." I stuffed the bags into the trunk of my car, slammed it shut, and walked back into the house. Sam was sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands. Her tears didn't move me. If anything, they pissed me off even more. "All right," I said, crossing my arms. "Here's your one chance. Come clean, or I'll let the lab results do the talking." "Who is he?" She shook her head, mumbling something I couldn't make out. "Speak up, Sam. Who's the lucky guy?" I demanded, my voice sharp enough to cut through steel. Finally, she whispered, "It's Richard." I blinked. "Richard? My friend Richard? Are you kidding me?" Her silence said it all. The room felt like it had just dropped 10 degrees. Richard and I had been friends since college. We weren't best friends, but close enough that he'd been at our wedding. I couldn't believe it. Wow. Just wow, I muttered, pacing the room. Out of all the guys in the world, you pick him? What, was the mailman too busy? She started sobbing again, but I wasn't about to let her off the hook. Do you have somewhere to stay? What? She asked, looking up, her face streaked with tears. I repeated slowly, do you have somewhere to stay? Because you're not staying here. This is my home too, she cried. Wrong. This house belongs to my parents. Technically, they still own it, and you don't have a leg to stand on. Now you can pack your bags and go to your parents, or I can toss your stuff into the yard. Your choice. Her sobs turned into a full-on meltdown, but I wasn't budging. I called my dad and gave him a quick rundown of the situation. After he finished cursing Richard's name, he agreed to send her a text officially telling her to vacate the property. While Sam packed her things, I went to her purse and took the keys to her car. Why? Because it was in my name. See, Sam hated dealing with paperwork, so when we bought our cars, I ended up putting both of them under my name. Same with the payments. They all came out of my account. When she realized her car keys were missing, she stormed into the garage, searching frantically. Where are my keys, Mike? In my pocket, I said, leaning against the doorframe. Why the hell would you take my car keys? She shouted, her anger briefly overpowering her tears. Because it's my car, I replied, my tone icy. And you're not driving off in something I'm paying for. Call your parents or get an Uber. You're being cruel, she spat. Oh, I'm sorry, I said, feigning concern. I didn't realize I was supposed to be polite to the woman who screwed my friend in my house. My bad. She backed off, realizing she wasn't going to win. Then I held out my hand. Phone. What? Your phone. Hand it over, I said. She clutched it to her chest. No. It's mine. Really? Because I bought it, and I'm the one paying for the plan. If you want a phone, you can use the old one in the junk drawer. Oh, and get your own line while you're at it. Reluctantly, she handed it over, and I gave her the ancient flip phone from the drawer. She looked at it like I'd handed her a brick, but I didn't care. By the time her parents showed up, Sam was a sobbing mess. Her mom tried to comfort her, but her dad walked straight up to me, his face stern. What's going on here, Mike? He asked. Instead of explaining, I handed him my phone and let him read the incriminating text. His face went pale, and he muttered, Jesus Christ. Then he looked at me and said, I'm sorry. Don't apologize to me, I said. She's your daughter. They helped her load her things into their car while I stood by the door, arms crossed. When they finally drove off, I felt a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The next few days were quiet, aside from the texts and calls from Sam, which I ignored. I focused on moving forward. First order of business, securing a lawyer to fast-track the divorce. Thankfully, our prenup made things straightforward. Back when we were engaged, I made it clear that I'd never marry without one. My first marriage had ended in a messy split, and I wasn't about to go through that again. Sam had agreed at the time, probably because she thought she'd never need to worry about it. Funny how things work out. The prenup was ironclad. It split our bank accounts 50-50 but ensured no alimony, no retirement sharing, and no claim to the house, which my parents technically owned. Sam's credit card debt was her responsibility, and any joint purchases made on my cards, including her jewelry, were staying with me. By the time we sat down for mediation a week later, Sam looked like she'd aged 10 years. Her parents must have been giving her hell. She tried to make small talk, but I shut her down. There's nothing to talk about, Sam. You cheated, you got caught, and now we're done. She sniffled but kept quiet after that. The mediation went smoothly, thanks to the prenup, and within 6 months, the divorce was finalized. She walked away with half our savings and the furniture she wanted. I kept the house, the cars, and most importantly, my dignity. Now, let's talk about Richard. I had no intention of letting him off the hook. Sam's betrayal was bad enough, but a friend stabbing me in the back? That's another level of unforgivable. I waited until the divorce was finalized before paying Richard a visit. I didn't want anything I did to him to complicate the legal process. During those 6 months, I prepared myself mentally and physically. I hit the gym harder than ever, channeling my anger into every rep. When I finally showed up at Richard's door, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Mike, man, he started, but I cut him off. "Shut up," I said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "We're going to settle this. Right here, right now." He tried to deny everything at first, but when I pulled out my phone and showed him the text Sam had sent, his excuses dried up. Instead, he had the audacity to blame me. "You ruined my relationship with Sam," he shouted. I laughed. "Your relationship? Oh, you mean the one you had behind my back while screwing my wife? That relationship." He tried to lunge at me, but I was ready. One punch to the nose sent him sprawling onto the floor. And I didn't stop there. Months of frustration, betrayal, and anger poured out of me as I landed blow after blow. He was yelling at first, but eventually he went quiet, his body limp beneath me. I stopped when I felt my tears mixing with the sweat on my face. Sitting beside his battered body, I caught my breath and pulled out my phone. "Time to call 911, I muttered. When the paramedics arrived, I was arrested, of course. But here's the kicker, Richard didn't press charges. I guess he figured he owed me that much. After the dust settled, I finally felt at peace. Sure, my marriage was over, but honestly, it was a blessing in disguise. Sam was lazy, selfish, and apparently unfaithful. I deserved better. I've since focused on myself, my health, my career, and my sanity. Dating isn't on the table right now. I mean, after 2 failed marriages, who can blame me? For now, I'm enjoying the quiet life, free of drama and deceit. As for Sam and Richard, I have no idea what happened to them, and I don't care. Their history. If there's one lesson I've learned from all this, it's to always trust your gut, and to never, ever skip a prenup.